Hey, what's up guys, Turtlelagz here, bringing you another Lord of Dice Global video. Now, today I will be updating my tier list, my personal tier list for the Lord of Dice Global game. I will specifically be going over each dicer that has been currently released in Lord of Dice Global, go over all their abilities, and come up with my personal opinion on whether or not this dicer is worth investing in. Now, originally I was going to focus on the natural 5 dicers, but I decided since I'm doing a live stream, I'm going to be getting feedback from you guys, and I currently have the time, I'll also go over the natural 4 tier list, or all the natural 4 dicers with you, go over which I think that will be worth your while to level up and upgrade to the max. Let me just double check to make sure my live stream is running before I continue. Let's see, am I live right now? It says I'm live. Oh, whoops. Sorry guys, I'm gonna end the stream and then restart it. Be right back. Hey guys, Turtlelagz here, bringing you another Lord of Dice Global live stream. Now today I will be updating my original tier list that I filmed back in February, around the time when this game first released. I figured that this was long overdue, and I have learned a lot about this game since it was first released. I think the demands of the dicers have increased tremendously since the game first started. Originally we just needed to beat other people, but now it's not just doing that, it's also not only clearing the raid bosses, but also achieving a high enough score to get the really nice rewards that you can get from, say, like Descent challenges, or a very high score in the the 4th floor of the raid. So for this reason, I will be taking everything into account. I will go over every natural 5, every natural 4 dicer, and put them on a grading scale so that you guys can understand whether or not it is worth your time and resources to invest in these dicers. Looks like I am live right now, so let's go ahead and begin here. We're gonna start with Abaddon, and by the way, the formatting of this video will be a little bit different than in my past videos. In my past video, I would actually construct a PowerPoint beforehand and kind of, you know, crop everything, make it all nice and all that, but I thought that it was a little too time consuming and not really worth your time to sit through all that. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. I do think that this video will still be a bit long, just because of how I'm going to go over all the natural 5s, all the natural 4s, grade them for you, and just give you an explanation, you know, why I feel like this dicer should be this grade and this other one should be, you know, a lower grade. Yes, and what I will be doing is I have already bookmarked and pulled up, or I should have pulled up. Here, let me pull this up. I will be going over the stats and the abilities of each natural 5 and natural 4 dicer prior to grading this. I'm going to be doing this on the fly. Unlike the other videos, I didn't really pre-plan how I was going to grade everyone, because I figured that, you know, it would be more useful for you guys if it was in the form of a live stream, get input from you guys as well before putting my final, you know, opinion on what's good or bad. I also had the Korean tier list handy just in case I need to refer to it. I pretty much know what the tier list, the Korean tier list is for each dicer. So I will keep that in mind as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Just going over real quick how I will be grading these dicers. I will grade them on their overall usefulness in PvP, whether it be guild PvP or arena PvP. I will also go over their overall usefulness in raids, specifically the 4th floor raid, because that is the raid you need to complete and get a high score on in order to get those sweet rewards, which I can show you real quick. Right now the incentives for guild PvP are not that much, so I think when grading the dicers I will focus more on what will allow you to achieve a high score in descent challenges to get those fortify beans, as well as get a high score on the 4th floor raid in order to get those sweet rewards. But just to show you here, guild PvP, if you're first place, like my guild is, you'll get 150 guild coins, but at the present time there isn't really a use for guild coins. I think that will be released at a later date, but for now, you know, guild PvP is still a consideration. You still have to, you know, be good at guild PvP in order to ensure that you're attracting top tier people into your guild. As you can see, I have a lot of guildmates, you know, searching for, you know, guildmates to participate. I think it's really important to, despite guild PvP not supplying you a very good reward, to still be decent at it, have a win percentage of at least, you know, 75% win rate. I think that's really important if you want to attract, you know, good people to join in your guild, and that will allow you to, you know, trigger on the benefits over to, you know, the 4th floor of raid, or, you know, any sort of end game content. But anyways, so I wanted to show you the guild PvP rewards. I also wanted to show you real quick the top rewards for say like Guardian Golem, for instance. Let me show you. I think I should show here. Yeah. So the big incentive to scoring top 50 or top 100 in raids is the gems. But I think it's even more important the descent dungeons, which I'm not sure if I can show you right now. I can't show you this right now, but descent challenges, that is where by, you know, getting a high score, not only do you get 1-star fortify beans, but you also get these rainbow shards that allow you to have a guaranteed natural 5. So here, let me show you. Yeah, these shards right here, the best way to farm for them is by achieving a high rank in descent challenges, which appear 4 to 5 times a week. And these rainbow shards, you can rack them up pretty easily. Even if you are only in the top 100 in descent challenges, you can get about 4 to 5 rainbow shards. So, you know, do this, you know, every single descent challenge, and you're probably going to get about 20 rainbow shards, maybe more than that, per week, if you are at least somewhat competent in descent challenges. So for this reason, my grading, the ultimate Tearless grading I have for each dicer today will be pretty different from my video that I uploaded back in February 23rd, where I made my first personal tier list. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hey Hellfire, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me. I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to go over every natural 5, natural 4 dicer. And yes, there are some natural 4s that will help you achieve a very high score in descent challenges and what else? And the 4th floor raid. So there's not that many, but there's about 4 natural 4s that you can use that are worth investing in. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So Abaddon, I'm going to go ahead and look her up in Wiki, go over her stats and her abilities. Alright, so Abaddon, as many of you are aware, it's pretty hard to acquire her. Currently, the only way to acquire her is by collecting 50 of those those Abaddon shards from those Abaddon cubes. But anyways, so what does she do? She's a Whirlwind D10 dicer. By the way, guys, something I learned recently is that a dicer's stats are heavily influenced by the kind of sided dicer they are. You'll probably notice that 10-sided dicers tend to be pretty squishy, but also hit pretty hard. In her case, she doesn't even hit pretty hard, which is why in the Korean tier list she's ranked at the bottom. But it's not just that. She does have the ability to dispel one debuff, but unlike other dicers like Diana and I forget that other dicer, she doesn't heal you, she just makes you immune to debuffs for one turn when fully charged. Other dicers like Diana, they will not only dispel one debuff, but they will also heal 10% of your HP. And just healing HP is much more important than being immune to debuffs for one turn. Especially in the 4th floor raid boss battles. So first ability, not that impressive compared to other dicers that are similar to her. Additionally, increase attack by 35% when you win. That can be useful, but there are other dicers that guarantee a crit on the opponent or the raid boss, for instance, and that tends to be more useful. If it's not critting, or if it's not, you know, increasing your attack by 50%, then it's not really that useful. Something that we have to take into account as well is the awakening effect. Basically, when you fortify a dicer, that has grown in importance with acquiring high scores in the 4th floor raid towers, or raid bosses, as well as the descent challenges. So this ability increased the attack of your dicers by 20%. Not the best fortifying ability. For this reason, I wouldn't put Abaddon in the S tier, the A tier, or the B tier. While it is nice to collect her because she is a rare dicer that takes a lot of time to acquire, she's more for collecting rather than actually using. Now moving on to Iakh here. Let me go ahead and look him up. So for Iakh, he is a 10-sided bomber. So for this reason, because he is 10-sided, so he's going to deal a ton of damage, but also be on the squishy side, as you can see here. At level 45, limit broken, he has 3,164 attack, 1,506 HP. First movement ability reflects 30% of magic attack back at the enemy. Not going to be entirely that useful. Additionally, reflect 30% when fully charged. The movement skill won't be really that helpful unless the opponent is using a lot of magic attacks on you. And so for this reason, the movement skill is pretty much useful for PvP, if that. Because the raid boss is never going to hit you with magic attack. Battle skill increases one of your lowest dice by 4. Pretty good, but then when you compare his ability to people like Loki, for instance, who have the ability to increase your lowest die roll to the max number, his ability is subpar. Now, looking at his Fortify ability, reduces the attack of enemies' dicers by 20%. Not that useful, guys. If you're trying to achieve a high score, reducing their attack is not going to do much. So for this reason, Iakh, you know, he's ranked really low in the Korean tier list, and I would not put him in the S tier, A tier, or B tier either. Alright, now moving on to Ordina here. Now, I personally have Ordina in my lineup. She's not ideal, but she is a good alternative, so I wouldn't put her in S tier. But anyways, let's go over what she does. So she is a sniper who is a 6-sided double dicer. Anytime you see a 6-sided double dicer, you have to give the dicers some credit and, you know, look into the dicer further, because statistically, when you compare the 4-sided double dicers, the single-sided the 10-sided single dicers, and the 4-sided double dicers, a 6-sided double dicer will always have a higher probability of winning a dice battle. So And actually, if you look at the Korean tier list as well as Wiki, there aren't that many six-sided double dicers. Actually, quite a few of them are no longer obtainable. So for this reason, you do have to, you do want a team that has, I would say, at least 3 six-sided double dicers. Just because, you know, when you're in a dice battle and you really have to win that dice battle, you know, sending dicers that have the highest statistical probability of winning you the battle is important. Of course, you have to watch out for people like LM or other dicers that just, or like Verona, that really punish you for playing six-sided doubles. I would say that for a typical team, I would have anywhere between 2 to 3 six-sided double dicers, for sure. Now, what does she do? She increases the attack by 40% when using a whirlwind attack on next turn. This actually happens to me quite often in guild PvP, just because my general rotation is, you know, whirlwind, then Ordina, and then whirlwind again. But I think that's just coincidence though, but her movement ability probably triggers more often for me than the average person. But otherwise, her movement skill is kind of like, you know, it may affect the game, it may not. It's not a game changer. Additionally, increase attack by 30% when fully charged. Her battle skill is not that impressive either. Reduces all d10 dice by 2 each. The thing is, most people are not going to send more than 1 d10 die in a dice battle against you. The only reason why they would do that is if you were playing like Nidhogg, or if they just don't have any more d6 dicers to throw at you, or they're new to the game. Most of the time, this battle skill will only reduce your opponent's total dice roll by like 2, because they'll only send 1 d10 unless you're going against an NPC, but you're better off using someone like Sonya to just blow up that d10 die. For this reason, or the reasons I've mentioned, the movement skill, battle skills, not that useful. Awakening effect, so this is when she's fortified, and you play your master skill, it fills the charge point of your dicers by 3. So you know how, like, when you're participating in a dice battle, you need anywhere between 5 or 6 charges before your dicer glows, and then when you play that dicer, it has different effects. Maybe it buffs your dicer's attack that you dish out, or if you send him out in a dice battle, you get lucky with the die roll. If depending on the awakening effect or the fortified effect, when you play that dicer, when you play the master skill the following turn, this effect triggers, and it fills the charge point of your dicers by 3, which is actually pretty good. I think it is the second or third best fortified ability in the game. The number 1 fortified ability I'll go over momentarily, but this is actually not a bad fortify effect. But anyways, so I would actually put Ordina in B tier, not because her movement skill or battle skills are that impressive, but because she is a 6-sided double dicer with decent stats. Yeah, HP decent, attack is decent at level 45, limit broken. Additionally, her fortified effect is useful. So I would actually put Ordina in B tier, which I think is where she's at in the Korean tier list. So here, I'll make a note here, and I'll of course show you the table at the end. I would put Ordina at B tier because she is a 6-sided dicer, and because we have a decent fortified ability. Alright, so moving onwards, we're going to move on to Loki. Now, I do have Loki in my main lineup. I used to rank him very high, and I think I might rank him high, although I'm not sure if I would put him in S tier. A lot of new dicers have come along that are also pretty solid, plus, you know, his fortified ability isn't that great, and he doesn't really earn you high points in, say, like descent challenges or the 4th floor raids. So, but he is a very good dicer though. So there's a couple of reasons why Loki is considered top tier. I think he is actually S tier in the Korean tier list. First of all, he is a 6-sided double dicer. That's important. Another thing too, movement skill, you do not receive damage higher than or equal to 20% of your total HP. This is great for surviving potentially lethal damage. If, say, like a boss, like a raid boss is going to deal like 9-10k damage to you like the 4th floor boss does, that ability to cut that down to, say, if you have like 20k HP, limiting the damage you receive to no more than like 4k damage, that can be pretty important. The reflecting damage is the cherry on top, but it's not necessary. It's really this first ability that's great. Battle skill is one of the best. Changes the dice with the smallest roll to max. This applies to you. So let's say, you know, you're rolling in a dice battle and you roll a 1 on your d6 die. That becomes a 6 instead. It can be a game changer. I've had dice battles that I would have lost had this ability not triggered. So it saved me plenty of times. Now granted, it won't help you win every dice battle, but it does give you a pretty good chance at winning the dice battle. I would say that despite him not really offering much by way of the Fortify ability to help you achieve a high score in the 4th floor raid or descent challenges, he is still very important for guaranteeing that you clear out important, say, like guard minions in raid bosses. Just guaranteeing that you'll take that guy out so you can deal additional, or in order for you to deal better damage to the boss. So I would actually grade Loki as S tier. He's not as good as he could be. Like, if his master skill was better, or if his fortified skill was better, he'd just be absolutely insane. But because his fortify ability is not that useful, so but I would still put Loki in S tier. Why? Because he's a d6 dicer, excellent movement and dicer abilities. Yeah, I think that sums it up there. Alright, moving onwards here, Thornet. Now, Thornet, I probably ranked her in my mind to be lower than what I realized that she is now. There was a time when I felt like all D4 dicers were not that good, because I learned that statistically D4 dicers roll the lowest in a dice battle. However, I think this game recognizes this and kind of makes up for it by making 4-sided double dicers the tankiest dicers in the game. So you'll notice all 4-sided double dicers, or at least most of them, will have a very impressive HP stat, and they will tend to have pretty good dicer skills. So as you can see here, she's very tanky. At level 45 she gets 4,271 HP. And she can get even more than that once she's transcended. But one of my guildmates and good friends, Razor Gaming, he did let me know that Thornet has the best fortify ability in the game that I think is reserved to maybe like 4 dicers to date in Lord of Dice Global. I will let you know. Basically, when you fortify Thornet and use Thornet, when you use a master skill the following turn, the master skill damage will increase by 50%, which is a really big deal. This ability right here is how the first to third place people in descent challenges and 4th floor raids are able to achieve such a high score. You pretty much have to use this fortify skill. Now, Typically speaking, because Thornet doesn't have great movement skills or battle skills, so usually people will use Kitsune instead. But for people like me who maybe have one Kitsune but don't have another one to limit break her, Thornet is a more accessible alternative to benefiting from the same fortified effect. So for this reason, Thornet, I would say, I would make her S tier. Now, some of you guys may be saying, oh, you know, like, shouldn't she be A tier? Actually, maybe I should make her A tier. The only reason why Thornet is up here in the S or A tier is because of her fortified ability. Well, of course her stats too, plus, you know, she's a decent piercer. I'll conservatively put her here. I may bump her up. Okay, so Thornet, fortified ability. That's the reason she's up here. Alright, so moving on to the next dicer, we got Estelle. Let me go ahead and pull up Estelle's stats. Alright, here she is. So, 4-sided double dicer, melee. Decent stats, as you can see. Not as much HP as Thornet though. So, you know, we do expect D4 double dicers because they have a statistically lower probability of winning a dice battle to have something compensating for that. But for her stats are actually subpar for a D4 double dicer. Let's check out her skills. Increases the attack of your pierced dicers by 20%. Okay, so I do see some potential for something called stacking, where... Oh, and she, additionally increased the attack of melee dicers when fully charged. Interesting. I didn't know that about her, actually. So, for those of you guys who are doing endgame content, trying to get the best score in 4th floor raids or get a high score in descent challenges, you guys are probably aware of something called stacking. And this is something my guildmates talk about all the time prior to starting any sort of raid boss or, any sort of raid boss, like the 4th floor raid boss where we are trying to achieve a high score, is... Are you stacking? What that means is, you see, in order to achieve a high score in descent challenges or 4th floor raid bosses is a couple things. One, do you have a good fortified ability? Specifically the one that increases your master skill damage output by 50%. From the top of my head, I only know 4 dicers that can do that. I will reveal that for you today. But assuming we don't have the fortified effect, the next best thing to think about is, okay, do you have a way to increase the attack of the dicer you want a master skill with? And the reason that's important is because based on how the scores are calculated in this game, you get an increasingly higher score the higher your damage output is, and it does take into account overkill damage. The more you overkill the raid boss with your master skill, the higher the score you end up getting at the end of the raid. So for this reason, like, let's say you want to use Thornet, who I just talked about, who I just told you the reason why she is in A tier is because of her fortified ability that increases your master skill damage output by 50%. Well, Thornet is a piercer, so how do you buff a piercer? Well, currently a lot of people are using natural 4 dicers that provide an easy and accessible way to buff the attack of the dicer you want a master skill with. The problem with using natural 4s though is if while you do want to increase your damage output, you also don't want to die, and unfortunately natural 4s on average are just make you squishier than natural 5s. So for this reason, any sort of natural 5 that have the ability to buff your dicers stats that's pretty good, especially if you're going to aim for a high score. So that's something to take into consideration. Now, based on my talk with other guildmates, that sort of thing, I don't think anyone's recommended Estelle as the go-to dicer for stacking. So I don't know if it's because people are mainly using Kitsune to achieve a high score, that's actually highly likely, or if they are using Nidhogg to achieve a high score, or Ordina for a high score, which is highly likely. The reason I mention Nidhogg and Ordina is because currently in Lord of Dice Global, the dicer class that has the most other dicers to buff it are snipers. Snipers, I think there's at least 3 natural 4 dicers that can buff snipers compared to like 1 to 2 dicers for like piercers, for instance, or for bombers. Of course, as we get more dicers introduced to this game, that will change. Yeah, but anyways, sorry to go on a rant on that, but I figured this is knowledge that unless you are in a very high level guild, you're probably not privy to, and I just want to make sure you have that information with you. So battle skill, counter is triggered when you lose, it increases the counter damage by 40%. This actually has some application in PvP. This kind of hedges against people who are loaded with D6 double dicers, or just bunches of really powerful dicers with good battle skill abilities. This, especially if you're playing Philip, who has a high counter damage output, Estelle can actually... I've seen situations where my opponent countered me with more damage than I dealt with him for winning. It was nuts. So Estelle certainly has the ability to do that. Oh, a fortified effect breaks the target's monster's armor for 3 turns. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think this fortified ability, breaking the target's monster's armor for 3 turns, is the second best fortified ability in this game. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm like 95% positive on this, because I know that some of the my friends in Mercenary, they use fortified effects like this one right here, breaking the raid boss's armor to achieve a high score in raid. Now obviously it's not as good as increasing your damage output by 50%, like you can do with like Kitsune or Thornit, but I don't know, I think you can actually achieve a high score with her too. So how would I rank her then? I guess I would put her in either A or B tier, although I think in the Korean tier list they have her in B or C tier. I'll go conservative, I'll just put her here for now, and I'll explain why. So enhance piercer, and fortified, and decent fortified ability. Okay, that seems reasonable to me. Otherwise I wouldn't have her on this list. Alright, so moving onwards, we got Newt. Alright, let's go over her real quick. Newt. Alright, so first thing you have to notice right off the bat is she is a 6-sided double dicer. Like I mentioned before, 6-sided double dicers have statistically the highest chance of winning a dice battle, and there aren't that many. If you look in Wiki, there are maybe like 9 or 10 natural 5 d6 double dicers currently in Lord of Dice Global, so you have to pay attention to them. Alright, now her movement skill increases the attack by 40% when using a sniper attack on next turn. Okay. Certainly, she definitely combos very well with someone like Ordina, and I think if I was using her, then I would probably get this ability off quite often. Poisons the target for 3 turns when fully charged. I would say in a raid situation, this is actually really good because raid bosses have a ton of HP, but in guild PvP it's not as good because for those of you guys who do a lot of guild PvP, and I've done a ton of guild PvP, there's ways to actually take advantage of the opponent poisoning you and make it backfire on the opponent. And I'm looking at Fenrir here. And I'll go over Fenrir later, but basically what I'm trying to say is the poison target, this is great in raid situations, but you probably do not want to play her in a PvP situation. Alright, so battle skill reduces all of the enemy's dice that rolled a 6 or higher by 2. If the opponent rolls real high, obviously this ability gets better. I do think it's a decent battle skill ability. I personally have not played Newt enough to know how good she is, but this seems like a decent ability. Fortified effect reduces the charge point of your enemy's dicers by 3. Not that useful. This is probably the worst fortified ability you can get on a dicer, or the second worst. So I think the main thing going for Newt is that she is a 6-sided double dicer. Yeah, and there's other 6-sided double dicer whirlwinders now, like Beholder or the newly released Seimei, who have better skills and maybe better stats than her. So for this reason, gosh, I can't put every D6 double dicer in the B tier list, so I think what I'll do is I'll leave her off the tier list for now. She'll probably be like C tier or below, although I don't think she's that bad, but I just can't put everyone in A tier, everyone in B tier. Anyways, we're going to move onwards here to Rumi. Now, I personally use Rumi in my lineup. I originally thought that she wasn't that good and that I would replace her as soon as I get a better whirlwind dicer, but I've found out over time, you know, as I've played this game more, that she's actually pretty good, better than people give her credit for, and certainly better than the Korean tier list gives her credit for. Now, as I mentioned before, she is a 4-sided double dicer, and for that reason her HP stat is going to be higher, but look at how high her HP stat is, guys. 4,628. I think out of all the D4 double dicers, she has probably the highest HP stat currently in Lord of Dice Global, level by level. I'm pretty certain, like almost 100% positive. So if you are trying to cushion your HP, which is getting more and more important as you know, higher and higher difficulties are added to this game, like the recently added 4th floor and the increased need to farm those descent challenges for the, you know, fortify bean, as well as the high score for those 5-star rainbow shards. I'm sorry, those 5-star summon shards. Having a high HP is very important. And so for this reason, I think she might end up being in my final lineup. Plus, I found out recently her fortified ability is actually pretty good. As you can see here, her fortified effect breaks the target monster's armor for 3 turns. And as I mentioned to you guys before, there are some people achieving high scores because they break the raid boss's armor prior to master skilling on them. So, yeah. She has very good stats, and her attack isn't even that bad, guys. It's 2,000. That's pretty good. Breaks the enemy's armor for 3 turns. The reflect ability, reflecting sniper attack, it happens sometimes in PvP, but it's not game changing at all. Reduces all dice by 3 each. Now, there isn't really a way to make this work to your advantage aside from just using D6 or D10 dice in the dice battle. So this is luck based, but something to keep in mind though is when defending in a dice battle, if say like you roll a 14 and the opponent rolls a 14, you win the dice battle if you're defending. Like basically whoever's defending will win in a tiebreaker, in a dice battle match. So for this reason, I've actually had a number of situations where I attacked an opponent and engaged in a dice battle when they had a Rumi last played, and we tied, which actually you end up tying a lot with this battle skill. Because oftentimes all the dice, with the exception of 1 or 2, get lowered all the way to 1. So yeah, the battle skill, and I kind of thought about the probabilities in my head. If you're defending with Rumi, actually she wins quite a few dice battles. Anyways, guys, didn't want to spend that much time on her, but so I think for her, I would actually put her in A tier. Yeah, and this is, I don't remember what her tier list is in, gosh, she might even be S tier. Yeah, for those of you guys who are used to having dicers with dice abilities that give you a clear advantage, Rumi might not be the one for you, but I think Rumi's just so different in good ways, and you'll notice a lot of the people ranking real high have Rumi on their team. Sometimes it's due to HP, sometimes it's due to the fortified ability, usually it's the HP, but when defending with Rumi in a dice battle, she wins a lot. You wouldn't use her to try to win a dice battle. But anyways, so we'll say highest HP stat in game. Well, as of this moment, and fortified ability. Yeah, so okay, moving onwards, guys. So next we got Kitsune. Like, it's been over 2 months now and I still haven't gotten a second copy of her. She is so good, and I used to think like she was really good, but now that I'm trying to achieve a high score in the 4th floor raids and trying to farm fortified beams and descent challenges, I'm starting to find out now that Kitsune is just pretty much mandatory. I mean, yes, you can get by with like Thornit, but especially now that Seime's out, and Seime, she's the new 4-star dicer that came out that buffs your bombers. Man, Kitsune is just like a must-have, and until I get a second copy of her, it's gonna be hard for me to get through this game. But anyways, so she has really good stats, not as much as Rumi, but pretty high. She is a D4 double dicer, so we do expect her HP to be pretty good. I would say this would be on the above average side for certain. So she's tanky, she deals decent attack, and she has the best fortify skill in the game that is currently reserved for, I think, like 4 to 5 natural 5 dicers currently released in Lord of Dice Global. What does it do? Increases the damage of your master skill by 50%. If you look at the teams of all the people like Dawn, Master Dawn, and anyone from like Mercenary, for instance, who are getting really high scores, ranking real high in descent challenges and 4th floor raids, they pretty much all have a Kitsune. Even if they are only playing, even if they haven't limit broken her, they'll still fortify her anyways, because this is just how you achieve high scores, just dealing massively more damage than what other people are capable of. Yeah, plus she has amazing battle skills, like destroy one of your enemy's dice that rolled 6 or higher. I mean, unless your opponent is rolling all 5s, which, I mean, it has happened. I have won against Kitsune because of that, but 9 times out of 10, that's going to really cripple the opponent, and that unless you roll like abysmally low with all your dice, otherwise you'll probably win the dice battle. Plus she increases her damage output by 20%, so I think this 2000 really is more like a 2000, you know, it's higher than this, and slows the target for 2 turns when fully charged. I underestimated this ability when I first analyzed her, and now that I've been Kitsune'd to death enough times in PvPs and stuff, this slow is really crippling. Especially if you're trying to take control of all 4 siege zones. I've had multiple times my opponent would Kitsune me while she's, you know, glowing. And then she slows me for 2 turns, right? And let's say like my opponent and I were like just scrambling to get all 4 siege zones. When she slows me, all of a sudden I can't catch up because I can only move 1 step at a time, and I've lost so many dice battle or so many games, so many PvP matches like that. Everything about Kitsune is good. The only downside is that she's a 4-sided double, but I mean, it's because she is this that justifies her stats. Like I mentioned before, generally speaking, D4 double dicers will have higher than average HP stats to make up for their lowest probability of winning in a dice battle. Kitsune, definitely S tier. It's pretty much, you can't argue with that. So yeah, so excellent movement, dicer abilities. So we'll say high HP stat and best fortified ability. And actually for a Thornet I should also put that. Alright, so I think this is looking pretty reasonable so far. Rumi is questionable, but I think if you play Rumi more, and if you just take a look at all the top tier players, their team lineup, for better or for worse, until we get a better Rumi, otherwise Rumi is going to pretty much be the go-to for a lot of players. Alright, anyways, moving on to Nidhogg here. Nidhogg, I think, is really good. Maybe not as good as I once thought, but he is one key piece in achieving a high score in 4th floor raids or getting the fortified beam in descent challenges. And the reason for that is because he has a high attack stat and he is a sniper, which is the class with the most dicers that buff that class. Okay, so what does he do? Well, first of all, his stats, right? He's a D10 dicer, which I mentioned before tend to be more squishy, but also deal the highest damage output. So, you know, he hits pretty hard. Unfortunately, his fortified skill is not that good, so that's a couple of points against him. Starts a dice battle against a passing player. This can be pretty disruptive. Very handy if you're trying to defend in a PvP, defend a siege zone from a PvP player. This can be pretty useful because the only way they can pass you if they dice battle you. And he has a really good dice battle ability. Increases your dice value by 2 each if you have fewer dice than the enemy. This actually is a good hedge against like Kitsune or someone, because if you go against people who know what they're doing, they'll try to send in a D10 dicer to prevent this battle skill from triggering, but of course you're going to do it too, and if the opponent's playing a popular dicer like Kitsune that blows up one of your dice, this still triggers if you, at the end of the day, or at the end of the dice battle, have fewer dice than your enemy. So, very good. I've lost so many dice battles against Nidhogg, and he hits so hard. And I think in I forget who it was, maybe it was Master Dawn, but someone was saying that to achieve a high score, you know, a lot of people are using Ordina because there's 3 natural 4 dicers that buff snipers, but that Nidhogg is actually a better target for those stacking buffs because his attack stat is already naturally so high. Only problem is his fortified ability is not that good, so you do have to take that into account. So for this reason, I would put him A tier. So Nidhogg, A tier, high attack stat, sniper, so stacking target, and excellent movement dice abilities. Okay. By the way, guys, if you feel that over the course of this stream that I didn't analyze a dicer properly, feel free to chime in. I'm actually hoping some people do today, because I know especially the first time I filmed this video, there were a lot of people who provided solid arguments that changed my opinion regarding how a dicer should be ranked. But anyways, moving onwards here to Serial. Now, Serial, I think when the game first started, a lot of people played her just because she hits so hard, but so do a lot of magic users, and I think she's not bad, but because she makes you squishy, so she's not used as much in endgame content. So as you can see here, she's pretty squishy, but she hits pretty hard. She's pretty much the dicer you want to go to if debuffs are especially crippling for you. Become immune to all debuffs for 1 turn. Increases duration of enemies debuff for 1 turn when fully charged. And battle skill burns target for 2 turns when you win. Fortified ability increases attack of your dicers by 20%. Not a bad ability, but it doesn't help you achieve a higher score per se. I guess maybe it could, but I mean, it would take longer to set that up than, you know, other common methods used for stacking. So for this reason, I'm not even sure if I would put her in B tier. So I think for now I'll leave her unranked. Alright, Verona. Verona is really good. I think if I wasn't playing Rumi, I would play Verona. And actually, I think when I do get Verona, I might replace Rumi with him. We'll see. But like Rumi, he has the highest HP stat in the game, 4,628 at level 45 limit broken. I'm trying to remember what his first ability was. Let's see. Spreads the same debuff you receive to all enemies. So if you get burned, which the raid bosses often do, you spread that to all the enemies. That's actually pretty good. Especially in the 4th floor raid where the guard minion, the minion giving the opponent the defense buff, is located far away from you. And his weakened dice ability reduces all of the enemy's d6 dice by 2. Insane. If the opponent is even playing 2 d6 double dicers, you've just decreased their overall die roll by 8. Very insane. This, I think, would make Verona definitely S tier, for sure. So Verona, highest HP stat in game, and then weakened dice ability, or just excellent movement dicer abilities. How's his fortified ability? Let's see. Breaks the enemy's target armor for 3 turns. Also a really good fortified ability. Very nice. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring this up here. Let me see if I can bring it all in one line. Too much text. Okay, so moving onwards here, we've got Sickle. Now, I know in the Japanese tier list she was ranked quite high, very high, and in the Korean tier list she's also ranked pretty high. I think that she might be overshadowed by Kitsune a bit, because unlike Kitsune, she doesn't have the best fortified ability. Actually, I don't even know what her fortified ability is. Let's check her out. But anyways, let's see. Increase the attack of your dicers by 20%. Yeah, see? That's not really... I mean, it can help you achieve a high score, but it's just a much longer route compared to enhancing your dicers with those natural 4s. So, yeah, fortified effect probably not that useful. Movement skill, when inflicted with a debuff, increases the attack of a random dicer by 40%. Now, I actually have Sickle in my main team because she has a very high bomber stat. I think she might have the highest bomber stat in the game right now, if I'm not mistaken. But this also makes her the squishiest bomber on the team, so if you're someone who's trying to have high HP, she's probably not the go-to for that purpose, or for that reason. Battle skill adds 1 dice over your single dice. This ability, the thing is, because 10-sided dicers, they make your team squishy. So a lot of teams, specifically PvP teams, will not have more than 1 D10 dicer. And so if, say, Sickle is your only D10 dicer in your team, like mine's is right now, then her second ability doesn't ever trigger, unless they blow up one of your dice. So, you know, I mainly have Sickle in my lineup for the attack stat. But I may end up switching her out once, if, say, like I get a 1-move Kitsune or something. Yeah, so I think for that reason I probably would put her in B tier. I think she is a decent alternative for the other bombers out there, because she does have, I think, the highest bomber attack stat in the game. So that's very useful. And now that Seime's out, I think Sickle might even be more viable. But other than that, though, so highest bomber attack stat in game. Yeah, other than that, there's not really much else that puts her above the other dicers. Alright, moving on to Diana here. Guys, I hope you find this video informative. I know this is going to be a very long video. I just want to be thorough. I want to go through all the natural 5s, natural 4s. I don't want to overlook anything, because I don't want to give you guys a reason to say like, oh, Turtlelagz, you know, your video sucks because you overlooked this thing. I want this video to be done right. Anyways, so first thing I noticed with Diana, aside from her awesome artwork, she's one of my favorite dicers in this game. But anyways, that aside, she is a D6 double dicer. So you have to keep that in mind, because if she has good abilities too, she will be a decent team member. So what does she do? Dispels 1 debuff, recovers 10% of total HP when debuffs are dispelled. Guys, this is the reason why I use Diana on the 4th floor raid boss, because think about it, like the raid bosses, especially when you go high up there, they debuff you so much. They'll burn you, they'll slow you, they'll do all sorts of things on you, and just the ability to dispel that and recover HP at the same time increases your longevity. You know, gives you more chances to defeat the raid boss before it defeats you. Now, of course, there's better alternatives like, like what's her name? Melite. Obviously, Malight's way better than Diana, but if you don't have a Malight, she is a good alternative. So I wouldn't consider her S tier, but she is a D6 double dicer, and this ability does have utility in raid bosses. So I mean, I would consider her if you need someone at like the 3 movement slot or something and need another D6 double dicer to guarantee that you take down those guard minions. Her battle skill is also pretty respectable. Reduce all enemies' dice that rolled a 4 or higher by 1, which triggers quite often actually, unless the opponent's rolling real low. I wouldn't say this is game changing, but it almost always will have some sort of impact regardless of who you are dice battling against. And then Fortified ability fills the charge points of your dicers by 3. This is actually relevant, guys. This is probably the 3rd best fortified ability in the game at the moment. Just the ability to master skill once and be halfway there to getting another master skill off. So pretty useful. I wouldn't put Diana in S tier because, you know, while she is useful in raid bosses, there are other dicers like Malight that are even more crucial, but she's pretty good. So I'll put Diana in the A tier. So 6-sided dicer. I'll also say D6 dicer. Raid utility with Dispel, Debuff Dispel, HP regen, decent fortified ability, decent, what's it called? Decent dice. I'll just say decent dice and fortified abilities. Okay, so there's Diana. Moving on to Ophelia. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a second copy of her before she was no longer in the whatchamacalls. Anyways, currently the only way to acquire Ophelia is by being super lucky and getting her from a 5-star summon ticket, or one of those 3 to 5-star piercer tickets that you can get in the store. I think those are pretty much the only 2 ways to get her at the moment. But anyways, let's go to Ophelia here. Now, she is ranked very, very, very high in the Korean tier list, and I think it's because of her utility in raid situations, or trying to achieve a high score. I think it's this one right here. Critical is triggered when you win and breaks the enemy's armor for 1 turn. You know, actually, I don't think this is even that good because, yes, it's nice to crit the opponent, but you also want to be in position for a master skill. But this could create an opening for your other teammates to master skill right afterwards. The problem, though, is that winning dice battles against 4th floor raid bosses is really difficult, and you actually can't even engage in a dice battle in descent challenges. So for this reason, this battle skill isn't as useful as some people may think. Her fortified ability also is not that good. Reduces the charge point of your enemy's dicers by 3. This is probably actually the worst fortified ability you can have. But she is a 6-sided double dicer. Yeah, I know she's ranked S tier in the Korean tier list, but she's certainly not S tier in my book. I'm not even sure if she's an A tier, because the way I grade it is A tier has to be an excellent alternative for endgame content, but I can't even think of what she would be an alternative to. And her stats aren't like game breaking or anything. Breaks enemies' armor for 2 turns when fully charged. I think I'll put her in A tier. Although I think she's more like between A tier and B tier, but I'll put her in A tier. Ophelia, so D6 dicer. Break potential. That's about it. Break potential against raid bosses only. Or, actually, no, that's not true, because of the first ability. I don't know, guys. Just high break potential, I'll just put it that way. I'm kind of iffy on this, but because she's S tier in the Korean tier list, here I can even show you guys, I can't rank her too low, because I'm sure there's something I'm missing. See? Look at her. But I think Kitsune is like 10 times better than Ophelia, though. I don't know, guys. I don't know when this was last updated, although I do think they update this tier list pretty often. Yeah, I'll keep her in A tier, just to be safe. Okay, Lilith. Now, Lilith is no longer obtainable, and there was a time earlier today when I thought I would skip all the currently unobtainable dicers, but I don't think that'll serve you guys as... I think it's still important for me to add her, just because I'm sure at a later date she will be re-released, and people need to know ahead of time whether she is worth obtaining or not. So anyways, she is a six-sided melee dicer, which I don't know if there are that many. I feel like most melee dicers, the natural 5 ones, are something else. But anyways, decent stats, pretty average all around. Increased damage by 20%, poison target for 3 turns. Destroy one of the enemy's D10 dice, so she's kind of like a Sonya. Fills the charge point of your dicers by 3. Now this sounds amazing until you're going against a lot of PvP opponents. No one's going to use a D10 dice against you. And like I mentioned before, poisoning the target is useful in raids, but can be a liability in PvP. But I feel like if you're going to use a melee dicer, the only 2 melee dicers that I personally feel are worth using in your team are either Fenrir or the new melee dicer that came out in Rebirth. Other than those 2, I think the rest are pretty much alternatives. So I think for this reason, I might not even include her in the S, A, or B tier. I may have to put her in B tier because she is a 6-sided double dicer, and her fortified ability is not that bad. And the poison can be useful in a raid boss. I guess I'll put Lilith in B tier for now. So what did I say? D6 dicer. Poison for raid. Decent fortified ability. Because it fills your gauge up, right? Yeah, it fills your gauge up. That's about it. Alright. So if you missed her the first time, I wouldn't sweat it. Unless you have a lot of, resources to spend, a lot of gems to spend. Otherwise, if she comes around again, I'm not sure if she's worth getting. Oh, hey, Zeratol. Hey, welcome. This is gonna be a very... Yeah, she ain't good. Okay, see? That's what I thought too. I have to give respect to all these 6 double dicers though, but I know I can't just fill the B tiers up with them, so... yeah, I think I'm probably giving her more credit than I am... than she deserves, but... Anyways, if this list gets really packed and I start to nitpick a little bit, maybe I'll start excluding some people. Ah, that is true. That is true. See, this is why we need a live stream. Okay, so here. Actually, Zeratol, before I move onwards, can you kind of proofread my tier list so far? So I'm going line by line here. I've currently stopped at Lilith so far. So currently at S tier I have Loki, I have Rumi, Kitsune, and Verona. And then for A tier, I have Thornet, Nidhogg, Diana, Ophelia. And then B tier, Ordina, Estelle, Sickle. What do you think of that so far? Does that seem reasonable? Here, I'll show you the S tier again. Not sure about Rumi. I'm with you there. I mean, a lot of people I think are using her now, not because she's good, but because she's just like an HP buffer. Yeah, her dice skill, I agree. The reason why I think her dice skill is not as bad as people make it out to be is because if you're defending with her, yeah, HP filler, yeah. If you're defending with her and you tie, which happens a lot with her ability, then you win. But of course, this doesn't really help you in a raid boss situation. Her fortified ability, let me show you. Her fortified ability is increases attack by... Wait, is that right? Oh, I haven't fortified her yet. Let me show you Rumi's fortified ability. Breaks the target monster's armor for 3 turns. If I'm not mistaken, I think this might be the second best fortified ability. The first one, of course, being what Kitsune has and Thornet has. Like right now I'm trying to fortify my Rumi because I don't think I'm going to change her out of my lineup anytime soon. In B tier? Okay. I think that's certainly respectable there. Yeah, she's definitely in one of these 2 tiers, so I think I'm going to move her around. So let's put her here. Okay. How does this look now? I do think that Loki's probably one of the lower ends for the S tier, because his fortified ability doesn't really help you in getting a high score in raids or descent challenges. The other 3 are in the right tier. Okay. And how about the A tier? I guess A tier is kind of hard to say. Thornet, she has awful abilities and stuff, but she does have one of the best fortified abilities in the game. Does this look okay to you? I'm actually unsure about Ophelia. I do think Ophelia probably, she might be ranked higher than she deserves. I'm not sure. Oh, she buffs too, I think. Ophelia? Oh, let me check. I don't think so. Where's Ophelia? Ophelia... Yeah, see, her fortified ability is not that helpful. Oh, buffs. Oh, yeah. Oh, buffs magic? It says increases damage by 20%. I think it applies to herself. Oh, Thornet. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Thornet. Thornet. Sorry guys, we're just fine-tuning my tier list before we move onwards. Oh, increase it when magic... Oh. That is true. Like, you would use a magic dicer, and then play her, and then master skill. So that in a way is kind of like a form of stacking then, if you're trying to achieve a high score in raids, 4th floor raids or the descent challenges. Some runes will help that boost chain attack. Okay, okay. Applies to Thornet. Gotcha. Alright, that was a big help there, Zeratol. So do you think Thornet being A tier is is, does it make sense, or should I move her to S tier? Okay, yeah, that's what I thought too. Because I think most of like people like Master Dawn or people like yourself, Zeratol, you're probably using Kitsune to get that high score, right? Especially now that Seime's out. Okay, so I think for now we'll move onwards, and you know I have used Zeratol now to kind of double check me as I continue through this tier list here. Alright, so Liddy is next, and she is one of the new dicers to come around, so let's take a look at her. Liddy. Alright, here we go. So she is a 10-sided single dicer, so following the theme of D10s, she's squishy, but she also hits really hard, and I think she has the highest attack stat for a melee dicer in the game, so that's something to take note of. Movement skill becomes immune to bind or slow for 2 turns. Move one additional tile when fully move one additional tile when fully charged. So I wonder, is this how people hit twice with her? Like in guild PvP, for instance, I've seen situations where she hits the opponent twice. Yeah, so she can potentially do almost 7k damage. Destroy all dice that rolled a 4. Battle skill, probably not that good. Doesn't give you an edge over the opponent, but then again, you're not going to dice battle much with a melee dicer. Reduces the attack of enemies dicers by 20%. Fortified ability, not that useful if you're trying to achieve a high score in raid. There's a tile that advances the dicer. Oh, yeah, that's true, and I've seen that happen as well. So she's definitely not S tier. She won't get you a high score in raids, like 4th floor raids or descent challenges. However, she's pretty decent in PvP. She's really good in PvP. I actually lost to a guy who was playing her. I think he dealt like 7k damage to me with her because he attacked me twice. I encounter her a lot in PvP. So I guess for what she does, she's pretty good. So I wonder, she probably, I know in the Korean tier list she is S tier, but I guess for this tier list, for Lord of Dice Global specifically, probably more like A or B tier. I guess she kind of follows along the same class as Sickle, right? Because highest melee attack stat in game. Does this seem reasonable? Because you can't use her fortified ability. Her movement ability, or her dice ability, is useless. Yeah, I think this is pretty reasonable. Yeah, pretty much the same reason Rumi and Sickle are in here is they have above average stats for a particular stat. Yeah, okay. Alright, I got the green light by Zeratol, so I'm gonna move on. Iblis. Alright, so I actually don't know that much about her. I know she's good for something, but I don't know what she does. Okay, so she is a D6 double bomber. There's not that many of them out there, I don't think. Reduces. Okay, so fortified ability is useless. Decent stats. Increases duration of enemies debuff by 1 turn. Adds 2 turns to duration when fully charged. Bit tricky to use. Increase your dice by 2 each if you have fewer dice than the enemy. That's kind of like Nidhogg. Yeah, that's basically like Nidhogg. I don't know if she even should be considered B tier. Iblis. I hardly see her played. There's just so many good bomber alternatives to her. Do you guys think it would be okay to exclude her from S tier, A tier, and B tier? Like, she's definitely not a Kitsune. I'm not even sure if she's a Sickle, even. Situational, exactly. So, pretty much all the situationals and just not that useful ones. I'm only creating slides for S tier, A tier, and B tier. I don't want this to get too long, so... Yeah, C or D tier, okay. So, I'm not even compiling a C tier, so we'll just leave her off the chart. Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. Okay, so moving onwards to Grafe here. Oh man, I think Grafe was probably one of the first natural 5s I got, and I was so disappointed to get him, but now he's pretty much... I wouldn't... maybe he might even be considered mandatory in like the 4th floor for survival. Ah, okay, gotcha. So yeah, let's take a look at Grafe here. He has a good fortified ability, breaks the target's armor for 3 turns. Useful for achieving a high score. His movement ability is so good. I started using him in a lot of the boss content, and yeah, he's just so useful. Reduces 35% damage from a giant monster attack, whether it be Descent or Raid. Recovers 10% of total HP when defended at full charge. I've had a number of situations on the 4th floor where I was at full HP, knew that I was going to get hit by the boss no matter what tile I landed on, played Grafe, limit broken right beforehand, and then pretty much regen the damage I had taken. Yeah. And the counter trigger doesn't really happen. So I think movement skill and awakening or fortified ability, those are pretty good. HP filler as well. I do think that he has more utility than Rumi does for sorry, my brain just shut down. So do you guys think that he should be ranked higher than Rumi? Or same tier as Rumi? I'm kind of leaning towards, yeah, either B or A tier, because I'm finding Grafe to be very useful in raid boss situations. Same tier? Okay. Yeah, that seems reasonable. And actually, it's pretty much the same reason too. So I'll just lump them together. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Yeah. Alright, so moving onwards, Fenrir. Alright. Now I remember when I created my first video with my personal tier list, I was wrong on so many levels, but I think the one thing that I was right on, that a lot of the Lord of Dice Global Reddit people argued me with, was that I was saying Fenrir is so good, and people were saying Fenrir is so bad, but now people know he's actually pretty good, although maybe not as good as I said he was. But one thing that I noticed recently was he has the best fortified ability in the game, along with Thornet and Kitsune. Increases the damage of your master skill by 50%. Now unfortunately he can't really best utilize it compared to like Kitsune or Thornet, because typically melee dicers you would stop in front of the boss, right? I don't know, I feel like positioning him would be a little tougher if you wanted to play him and then master skill right afterwards. But the fortified ability is definitely an eye-opener. Like, you have to pay attention to that, or respect that at least. And his stats are pretty decent. Movement skill recovers 50% of damage dealt as HP when you're debuffed and attack the enemy. Recovery is increased 2 times when fully charged. Yeah, so this ability, you can use it in raids to keep your longevity going. You can use this in PvP to capitalize on the numerous times that you're slowed, or you are trying to do the double melee wall strategy in guild PvP. Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, Zeratul has a very good point there. I guess I'm kind of under the mindset that we're using Philip to master skill, just because I'm starting to, like, I have a maxed out Clara, I have a nearly maxed out Yuri, I have a maxed out Raven, and I'm rushing to get Philip max because I realize now Philip is the best dicer and the easiest dicer to position with. Or I'm sorry, the easiest master and the best master to use for achieving a high score. But I do think he's very useful in guild PvP. I think he's also very useful in raids because then any poison, slow, burn that anyone deals to you is no longer a liability. Reduces damage received by 30% when you lose. I used to think this didn't matter that much, but losing a dice battle in like the 4th floor raid is really crippling, so even if it doesn't help you, it's still nice. Plus, you're probably not going to do a dice battle much, or if at all, in a raid situation with a melee dicer. So, you know, Fenrir, gosh, I know he's not an S tier, but I do think he deserves a spot in the A tier. But he's kind of a niche usage, although when used in the right team, he's really good. Oh, you can heal off MS? Really? Whoa! Whoa, that's nuts! So if, say, like, you master skill, deal like 5 tiles of damage on the raid boss with a Fenrir played. Oh, if you are debuffed. Wow, that is insane. Is that enough to put Fenrir in S tier, or should he be in A tier? I mean, obviously you have to catch fire or poison first, but that happens a lot, right? In raid bosses especially. Wow, so with Fenrir you can heal back up. I'm tempted to put Fenrir in A tier. So the reasons why, let's see. High heal potential in game. So high heal potential. Best fortified ability. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I mean, there's more to this than that. I mean, you would have to go in great detail to justify these, but there's lots of situations where Fenrir is just really good. Okay, yeah, that seems reasonable to me. Alright, Beholder. If there is one, if there's one dicer I regret not whaling on, it is definitely Beholder. I think when he gets released a second time later, I'm definitely going to get him. I think a lot of people are realizing now that people understand that now that the best rewards currently in Lord of Dice Global are achieved by getting a high score in descent challenges and 4th floor raids. So he's a D6 Whirlwind Dicer, which already makes him, I mean, someone you have to respect and look at. And then the first movement ability deals 50% of damage dealt to giant monster to all normal monsters. Increase all damage by 25% when fully charged. So, you know, if you've been watching my 4th floor streams, or if you've been doing 4th floor raids yourself, you'll know that there are times when the shield minion will be located somewhere really hard to reach. And just being able to deal damage to it even when you're not close by, that is helpful. Although I do have, like, I think Croesus has a Beholder, and I don't think we've ever knocked out the defense buff minion with it, but I think if multiple people were playing him, then it'd be pretty good. Unfortunately, his fortified ability is not that useful. It's pretty much useless in raid situations, and not all that useful in PvP situations. Increases the attack of all dicers by 15% at the start of the battle. Wow, okay. So this is like a, this is a form of stacking you can do. Is that right? Am I reading this correctly? Anyways, I think that's, yeah, so Beholder is extremely good for any sort of raid boss, and as we get like the 5th floor and onwards, this is going to be especially important. Keep it as A tier. Oh, okay. Sorry, I read an earlier post. But anyways, I'm very tempted to put Beholder in, if not S tier, definitely A tier. But he's very good at what he does. Should be used after equipping him. Ah, okay. I think he's supposed to serve as the guy to help you take down the defense buff minions in raids, and to buff your, to start stacking your dicers in preparation for master skill. Yeah, this is so good, and like a lot of people are using Rumi right now because there isn't really a better whirlwind dicer to use. What's his? Yeah, his stats are actually pretty decent. It does not work on 4th floor. I've seen Croesus do the movement skill on the 4th floor, and I've seen the other minions get damaged, but it doesn't deal that much damage, maybe like 1,000 damage at most on the other minions. Because, I mean, Beholder doesn't have a very high attack stat. But if, say, like, I know the minions in the 4th floor raids, they have like 4,200 HP, something like that. So let's say, you know, you dealt like 2,500 3k on the opponent. This could get very close to finishing them off. I feel like for Beholder to really shine, you need to have maybe 2 people playing Beholder, but I mean, Beholder is no longer obtainable right now, so we might not see that for a while. So I guess for this reason, because he's so unobtainable, and while he is super good, but I feel like you need more than one person with him to... yeah, his dicer ability is not that, or his fortified ability is not that good. It's useless, actually. So I'll put him in A tier. He, I do plan on getting him when he becomes available second time through. But, okay, so I'm gonna put him, Beholder. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. I only know 2 people in my guild who have him right now. So he's a D6 dicer. Excellent raid potential. And that's about it. Okay. So moving on to the next dicer here. Shall I make a note? He's currently unobtainable. Okay. Alright, Sonya. So I currently have Sonya in my main lineup, but well, she is my favorite dicer in the game. She's actually decent in raid content, but against real life people, like PvP, she's not that good. I mean, she is a D6 double dicer. You know what she's really good for? She's really good in island battles. I've actually won, I think, 2/3 of my island battles are won because I'll be like 3k HP from dying, and then Sonya will deal some insane amount of damage to finish off the opponent. But anyways, I digress. Her fortified ability is useless. Battle skill ability, if you're going against a real life person, unless they're new to the game, they're never going to play a D10 dice against you. The first ability that's, I think, that along with being a D6 double dicer and having the bind effect, it's her movement skill that makes her pretty good. I don't think any other dicer has the ability to just deal 50% extra damage. I know there's a couple, but yeah, so decent stats. So I would probably put her either B tier or C tier. What do you guys think? B, okay, so I think we have a consensus here. So I'll put Sonya. Oh, hey, Justin! Wow, how many people are watching this stream? Wow, there's 8 people watching. I think this is the most I've ever had. Wow, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join. I greatly appreciate it. Wow, this is way higher turnout than I expected. I think when I started this stream, I think I had maybe like 1 person watching. This is great. And by the way, guys, I am going over every single natural 5 and natural 4 dicer because there are some natural 4 dicers that are used for stacking purposes when achieving a high raid score or descent challenge score, so I will go over them as well. But guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me. It means a lot to me. But anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and put Sonya in B tier. Alright, so put Sonya, so she is a D6 dicer. We'll say excellent movement ability. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. Alright. Yeah, thank you. I realized that it's been a while since I've filmed videos because I've been doing a lot of live streaming of guild PvP and whatnot, but yeah, I realized that the last time I did a Lord of Dice global video for the tier list. Like my personal tier list was pretty much the first video I ever released back in February 23rd. And I've definitely learned a lot over the past month and a half, so figured it was time to refine it and everything. I made a lot of mistakes in this video. I don't know why it has so many views. But anyways, going back here, LM. I have yet to acquire LM, but I do think she is really good. And I'm not really sure why not as many people are using her as I would expect. She is a D6 double magic user who has a decent fortified ability, increases damage by 30% when attacking a debuffed target. I'm assuming this applies to raid bosses too, so that seems pretty good to me. Additionally, increases damage by 30% when fully charged. Her battle skill ability reduces 2 of the enemy's d6 dice by 4 each. Yeah, I think this battle skill is so good. And her stats are pretty decent, so... Oh, I didn't notice that. Is he a guy or a girl? I think it's a... I thought she was a girl, but... It's a trap, I believe. Okay, anyways, jokes aside, I do think LM is pretty good. I'm actually leaning towards putting him or her in A tier. What do you guys think? Either A tier or B tier. Well, let me see what's in the A tier so far. So we got Thornet, Nidhogg, Diana, Ophelia, Fenrir, and Beholder. Yeah, see, I agree with you, Justin. I hardly see LM at all. Like, no one's playing her. I don't know why. Because I feel like D6 dicers are kind of in demand because generally you want 2 to 3 in your team just to have good die roll probabilities. Or that could be it too, yeah. I think what I'll do, I mean, I think she's really good. Even her fortified ability is actually not bad. Yeah, she has the 3rd best fortified ability in the game. First ability, I can see it happening quite often, especially in, you know, like raid situations where I know a lot of teams, a lot of people are trying to poison or burn the raid boss to deal additional damage. I can see the damage stacking with LM. So I think for now, if it's okay with you guys, I'll put LM in A tier and we can modify it later. So say D6 dicer, excellent, movement, dicer abilities, decent, fortified ability. Okay. So moving onwards here, we got the newest Descent Challenge dicer. No traps allowed in S tier. Okay, yeah, that's true. Wait, Zeratol, what do you mean by that? No traps allowed in S tier. I'll go ahead and pull up hide stats. Alright, so... Whoa, Oh, he has a very high HP stat. I didn't know that. Is this correct? Oh. I don't think... Is this accurate? I do have a maxed out hide. Let's take a look. Nah, this is inaccurate. His true HP is 4,271. This is incorrect, guys. Yeah, Hyde's HP is not that high, although it is pretty high. So let's see. Increases the attack by 30% when using a bomber attack next turn. Oh, I didn't know that about him. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, additional damage, additional attack when fully charged. Transcended HP. Okay, that makes more sense. Increases 2 of your D10 dice by 3 each. This ability is pretty good. I mean, I did lose against a person today in PvP because of it, but like I mentioned earlier in the stream, not many people are going to put in more than 1 D10 dicer in their team, or at least not if they have a better alternative, just because it just makes you squishier. But his battle skill is good if you have a team like that. Breaks the target's monster's armor for 3 turns. Very good fortified ability. So I wonder, should we rank him A tier or put him B tier? I think the line between A tier and B tier is kind of blurring a little bit. So here's what I have in A tier so far. Thornet, Nidhogg, Diana, Ophelia, Fenrir, Beholder, Ellen. And then we got B tier, Ordina, Estelle, Sickle, Rumi, Grave, Liddy, Sonia. I kind of feel like Hyde is in B tier. In between, yeah. It's kind of hard to grade him. I do think he's great, but not like game changing, right? Like, you can get by without him. Yeah, I think just to be on the safe side, I'll put him on B tier, although he might be just a notch higher than that. But just, I think this is reasonable. So, we'll just say decent movement ability. I don't know. Now that I think about it, I don't think he's that great. But, like, he doesn't stand out, right? It's just his fortified ability is pretty good. Hey, Snitchu! Dude, Snitchu, where have you been? B? Yeah, I would agree with that. Although, yeah. I kind of feel like he's either slightly above or slightly below B tier. So I'll put him as B tier. Although I don't think any of his abilities really stand out. No, Snitchu, just haven't seen you in a while is all. And you are late. But this stream is going to be very long because, okay, Snitchu, I started from Abaddon, and now I just finished, or I'm about to finish Hyde, but after I finish the natural 5s, I am going over the natural 4s, because there are about maybe 4 to 5 natural 4 dicers that can be used for stacking for those high descent challenge and 4th floor raid scores. So this is going to be, I'm trying to make this as complete as possible. You missed the lols. The lolies. Alright. Anyways, guys, moving on. Guys, if there's another thing I regret, aside from not getting Beholder, is not getting Kangim. I don't know why. There was a period of time, I think when Kangim was around, that I thought the D4 double dicers were not that good. But now I know I'm completely wrong. But, anyways, let's take a look at Kangim. I really regret not getting him at all. Alright, so what does he do? He's a D10 sniper, so he hits really hard. Unfortunately, this wiki doesn't have his final stats, and I don't have him, so I have no idea what his stats are, but I do remember being dealt 4.5k damage from him at the beginning of the game in Guild PvP. I know he hits pretty hard, because I get hit pretty hard. But anyways, he's a hard-hitting sniper, similar to Nidhogg, increased damage by 20%, adds 30% damage when fully charged, and breaks the enemy weapon for 1 turn. Oh, I really regret not getting him at all. Reduces the attack of enemies D6 dicer by 30% while increasing attack of your D6 dicers by 30%. And fortified ability is not incredible, but it's not useless either. So I'm kind of leaning towards putting him along the same tier as Nidhogg, right? Because Nidhogg is also a D10 sniper that hits pretty hard, but I think in some ways Konging hits even harder than Nidhogg. So Konging probably A tier. What do you guys think? I regret not getting him. So high attack stat. B tier, A tier. A for sure. Oh gosh. A? Okay, so we put a vote here. Yeah. Yeah, I okay, so we got a couple people saying A tier, and Zeratul, you say B tier, which I can justify as well, because he's not like, I mean, he's a good target for stacking. So he does have utility in raid bosses, but maybe not in the sense that his master skill breaks the game open. So I think we're leaning towards A tier, so I'm putting him there. So high attack stat, raid utility, let's see. Yeah, stacking target, and excellent movement dice. That seems pretty good. That's pretty much how I ranked Nidhogg, so that would make sense. Alright, so moving onwards, guys, we have Orpheana, and now she was one of the newer dicers to appear in the game. I don't know that much about her, but now that I'm paying more attention to raids, I think she might be useful. Let's see. So she's a 4-sided double dicer. A pretty good fortified ability, breaks the target's armor for 3 turns. Pretty good stats. You become immune to all debuffs for one turn and recover 10% of total HP if the effect is successful. Interesting. So this is kind of like a pseudo... This is like a hybrid of Grafe and like Diana, or Grafe and Serial. You become immune to all debuffs for 1 turn and recover 10% of total HP if the effect is successful. Also heals 10% for friendly players. Interesting. I think up until this point, the only other dicer that I can think of that can really benefit your allies in some way is Malite, right? With the shield. She is hard to use. Okay. Blocks enemies critical at all times and recovers 10% of HP when you win. So not as much utility in dice in whatchamacalls. In raid battle situations. Yeah, so I mean, I guess the movement skill kind of catches your eye a little bit, but other than that, she doesn't have much else going for her. I mean, I guess breaking the armor is good. So what do you guys think? Should she be in B tier or should she be put in like C tier or below? Well, if she's hard to use, then I probably wouldn't even put her in B tier. Trash tier. Okay, so yeah, basically there are better dicers. I think we can all agree to that. Alright, now moving on to Anna. Now, she's probably the first cube event dicer that I splurged for, and I got the movement I did not want, so I'm not even sure if I'm going to use her. But she is pretty good. Let's see what she does. Although I think her fortified ability is not that good though, if I recall correctly, which is a bummer. Yeah, fortified ability, reduce attack of enemies dicers by 20%. Yeah, not all that helpful. Yeah, I got like a 2 move and 6 move of her. I pretty much needed her to be 4 move for her to be playable. And she's squishy. I know it says question marks here, but she is a 10-sided single dicer. So I think we're looking at 3k HP, 1700 I'm sorry, 3k attack, 1700 HP is what I expect her limit broken stats to be. I think my guildmate took a screenshot of her limit broken. I think that's the stats I saw. But anyway, so you know, she buffs herself, leaves a Bomber Whirlwind brand for 3 turns when fully charged. Its level increases and deals damage on the last turn if the enemy is struck by the relevant attack. I don't know too much about brands. I know Dano, I think that's his name, or Dalo has it. Kind of situational. I don't think I've ever seen a brand take off. Destroys the dice with the highest roll from the enemy's double dicer. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about her. You know, it's surprising because I know in the Korean tier list they have her ranked as S tier. Yeah, she's S tier, but I don't know what makes her good though now that I think about it. Because he doesn't have a fortified skill that is that good. Unless the brand damage does some insane damage that I'm not aware of. I guess she is kind of a good stacking target for getting high scores in raids. And her battle skill is really good. I think it's almost on the same level as Kitsune, maybe even better than Kitsune's. I don't know, guys. I would either put her... see, only D10, natural 5. Oh, really? Maybe that's why. And her art is OP. That is true, she does look pretty cool. I haven't limit broken Anna yet. I do have 2 copies of her, but neither are the movement type that I want. And I don't know if I want to splurge for a 3rd copy before the event's over. I don't think she's worth it upon reflection, so... I would either put her in A tier or B tier. What do you guys think? Yeah, save for something better, yeah. A? Okay. Oh, that seems reasonable. A? Okay. Running out of room here, guys. And of course at the very end I'll kind of slow-mo reveal these slides to you guys to show you all what consensus we've reached. feel free to share it with your guildmates. I mean, we're all trying to get better here. Let's insert. Okay. So highest piercer attack stat. Raid utility. Question mark. Justin, which guild are you in right now? Yeah, excellent. I'll just say excellent movement battle skill. Excellent movement dice abilities. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Justin, if you'd like, I can talk with my guild leader to see if we can add you. I'm currently in Popsicle right now. Or you can join Mercenary, they're really good too. But yeah, if you want to join either of our guilds, you know, just let us know and we'll put a good word in for you. Alright, moving onwards here, guys. So we got Yomna next. Yomna's pretty good. I don't think he's S tier, but he's pretty good. Let's see. Alright, so Yomna, he is a 6-sided double dicer who's a sniper, and snipers, as many of you guys know here, is a good stacking target because I think we have the most dicers that buff snipers, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so movement skill adds 35% damage if the opponent has higher HP than you, so I'm assuming this applies to raid bosses as well. Destroys the opponent's dice with the highest roll if the opponent's total die roll is 25 or higher. Seems pretty good. Fills charge points of your dicers by 3, so fortified skill is pretty good also. Stats... I don't have his final stats, but I'm assuming it's somewhere in the ballpark of 3k HP and 2k attack, give or take. Okay, so I don't think Yomna is as good as... Well, let's see. Increases damage by 50% when fully charged and reduces opponent's total HP by 10%. Ooh, does that apply to raid bosses too? Probably not, right? If it does, that's pretty broken. Any of you guys can clarify on this special ability here? Does this work on raid bosses? Oh my goodness. Does that make him good, or is he okay? He has a lot going for him. He's a D6 double dicer. Everything's relevant in some way. And he's not squishy like Nidhogg or, you know, the other D10s. So I think putting him in A tier seems reasonable. What do you guys think? Either A tier or B tier. Yeah, that is true. He's like average, right? He's pretty average all around, or above average all around, but doesn't excel at any given area. Okay, yeah, I agree with that when you put it that way. Okay. Ah, that's the beauty of live stream, guys. I get all your inputs. Alright, so Yomna, D6 dicer, decent movement, dice, fortified, abilities. Okay, and then we'll move onwards. So basically Yomna's like decent, but if you're trying to min-max, then Yomna's probably not the one. Malite! I still don't have a Malite, guys! It's so sad. Anyways, that aside, let's go ahead and look at her. I think everybody has a Malite except me. Alright. So, I think I pretty much know what you're all going to say about her tier. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I want a Malite so bad. So bad, guys. Okay, so for those of you guys who are living under a rock and don't know about her, the reason why she's good, well, let's just go over her abilities, okay? Fortified abilities, pretty good, breaks the enemy's armor for 3 turns. And then movement ability increases the attack by 30% when using a bomber attack next turn, which is highly likely, because pretty much if you're trying to aim for a high score in, you know, 4th floor raids or descent challenges, you're going to be using a lot of bombers. So I can see this proccing pretty frequently. Increases the attack by 40% when using a bomber next turn, and grants a shield for all allies for 3 turns. This ability right here is what makes her S tier. Hands down. You pretty much need to have her if you don't want to die left and right in any sort of endgame content. Particularly the 4th floor raids. Just because, you know, when you go on the 4th floor raids, towards the end, the boss is dealing like 4k to 10k damage on you per hit, and just being able to trim that damage down by 50% for 3 turns is invaluable. Battle skill is decent, and I can see this being used pretty often in the right team. Reduces enemies die roll by 1. I don't know how good this is though, but really you're using Malite for the limit broken ability. Okay, so, and I know we don't have her stats here, but she is a D4 double dicer. I think her HP is probably 4.2 to 4.5k most likely. I think probably 4.2k at level 45, so we're definitely putting Malite here. So we'll say OP ally shield ability. And this is invaluable in raids. And she also has excellent fortified ability. Wow. Okay, before I move on, is there anyone who disagrees with this? Anyone who disagrees with my Millite ranking? Say aye. And for those of you guys just tuning in, how do you feel about this current S tier ranking? Loki, Kitsune, Verona, Millite. Before I move on. We're just going to do a quick check before we move on here. Oh man, guys, you should have seen when I first started this game and I created my initial tier list. I said at that time the only good piercer was Sonya. And the reason I said that was because I didn't bother reading the full charge abilities for any of the dicers because I was like, when is that ever going to happen? But oh man, fast forward 2 months, I feel so stupid having said that back then. Oh yeah, here Snitchy, let me show you Verona real quick. I'm actually trying to get a second Verona, specifically a 2-move one, to replace my my Rumi with. Verona is pretty good. Like, everything is relevant about him. So his fortified ability, he breaks the enemy's armor. Battle skill ability reduces all of the enemy's d6 dice by 2. Movement skill ability, what was it again? Spreads the same debuff you receive to all enemies, so that's relevant. Full charge, increased attack by 25%. And has higher than average HP stats. So he's really good. Probably, well, most definitely better than Rumi. Alright, anyways guys, I'm going to move on here. So we just finished Millite, on to Laura. Now, I remember having Laura initially in my lineup, but I switched her out because I didn't want to be too squishy. Laura, where are you? Oh, we're almost done, aren't we? Yeah, that is true. I feel like Verona, I can see an argument that he is in A tier, or yeah, I would say like I guess if we added an SS tier, Kitsune and Millite would move up while the other two would stay still, right? Do you guys think I should create an SS tier or just keep it like this? Alright, anyways, so checking out Laura's abilities here. So she is a D10 dicer, so she's pretty squishy. Her max stats I can show you. Keep it? Okay. Let's see. Wow, her attack stat isn't even that high. Okay. Well, anyways, so her movement skill adds 10% damage and reflects 30% of melee attack back at the enemy. I've only had this trigger 3 times out of the month and a half that I used her. Adds 10% damage when fully charged, reflects 60% back to the boss. I've never actually used her in raid situations, but then again I don't use her because I'm just too squishy with her on my team. Her battle skill ability is really good though. Switches enemies' highest roll with your lowest roll. So if you roll a 1 or a 2, which you almost always will, then the opponent's like 6 roll die becomes a 1 or a 2. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's not game breaking or anything, and her fortified ability is not that great. So I guess this would put Laura either in B or C tier. Wow, I didn't realize Laura was not that good until now. So I guess Laura would be in C tier, huh? I don't even think... what do you think, guys? Do you think Laura should be in B tier or should be lower than that? I think based on what I've described, you know, subpar stats, useless fortified ability, movement ability. Yeah, I don't think she is going to be on the B tier. Alright, so anyways, I'm going to move on to the next one here. Alright, we're almost done with the natural 5, guys. So we got Dana next. Alright, so for some reason in the Korean tier list they have Dana super low, and I'm not even sure if Dana's on here. Okay, well anyways, I do have a limit broken version of her, so let me just pull her up. Let's see. Dana, okay. Alright, so here's my limit broken Dana. These are her final stats. Not bad. Let's go ahead and look at her skills. So, increases melee dicer attack by 15% and deals 20% more damage to the target. Okay, and then additionally increases the attack of melee dicers by 15% when fully charged and deals 20% more damage to the branded target. Creator destroys one of the enemy's dice. And I don't know what her fortified ability is, so I can't properly assess her, but she is considered mid to low tier in the Korean tier list. So, but she is a D6 double dicer. So I think she's either B tier or C tier. I think that she's not bad, but I don't know what her fortified ability is. Great in PvP? Yeah, I would agree. So I guess we could put her in B tier then. Because she has a couple things going for her. I just don't know what her fortified ability is. So Dana, D6 dicer, decent, movement, dice, fortified ability. I wonder if I can look her up real quick. I don't know if anyone uses Dana nowadays though. Oh, I have an idea. Let's see. If I construct my team briefly so that Dana's on my team, and then I look her up in my guild, I think I can find her fortified ability. Perfect, okay. Reduce charge, reduces charge point. Oh, okay, so her fortified ability is useless. Okay, yeah, well that definitely puts her in B tier then. Okay. Well, that settles that. So moving on to Dalo next, I think. Sorry, what am I doing? So, gosh. Alright, Dalo's next. And I got my second copy of Dalo. He's pretty good, I think, and I don't think Dalo's in this wiki either. I was looking at the Twitter feed on the Korean Lord of Dice Global Twitter, and I think Dalo and Dana, they were released maybe a couple months ago over there, so not that long. Okay, yeah, so I think what I'll do for the purposes of this video is Dalo a trap? And I think we I think so. I'm just gonna move him into... I just want to see... Actually, I think some of you guys main Dalo, correct? Do any of you guys have Dalo in your lineup? I'm pretty sure some of you guys do. I'm trying to find out what his fortified ability is. Oh, okay, I have to look for Zeratol's lineup. Because I think, Zeratol, you actually fortified yours, right? If I'm not mistaken, his fortified ability is pretty decent. Yeah, fill charge 3. Fills the charge point of your dicers by 3. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Adds 35% damage if the opponent's HP is higher than you. Okay, that's pretty good. And that's also really good against raid bosses, because they most certainly will have a higher HP than you. Applies a brand, if I'm not mistaken. Increases the damage by 50% when fully charged. Leaves a magic sniper brand for 3 turns. Its level increases and deals damage on the last turn if the enemy is struck by the relevant attacks. Yeah. And gift shop is pretty good too if you throw a D10 in there. Zeratol, when you use Dalo on a raid boss and you apply a brand on them, how much damage does the brand do? Have you noticed? Oh my goodness, there's 12 people watching. Or there was anyways. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's 11 people watching now. Wow, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to follow my stream. It means a lot to me. This is the first Lord of Dice Global Dice review I've done since I started this channel, so doing a lot of revisions. This should be a lot more fine-tuned than it was when I first filmed that video here. Yeah, back in February 23rd. Actually haven't had the chance to do that. Okay, so it doesn't seem like the full charge ability is used that often, but he seems pretty good. He's a D6 double dicer as well. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't show his stats here, but I anticipate at level 45, he's probably right around 2 point something K attack, 3 point something K HP. So I would probably... I know Dalo is ranked pretty low tier in the Korean tier list, but I'm gonna put him along the same list as Dana here. That seems reasonable to me. He is actually better than Dana slightly because of the fortified ability, so... Okay, almost done, guys. Okay, so Saite. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Saite, and it's really hard to assess him. I don't think he's on the wiki either. Do any of you guys have Saite in your main lineup? I know, I've seen some people use him in guild PvP, although I can't for the life of me figure out what the chaos ability does. So what I may end up doing is actually... Oh, Bakeho? Okay, I'll look at his lineup. I don't know if he's my friend though. I don't know if he wants to be my friend, because we face each other a lot in guild PvP, but let's see, is Bakeho, he's probably top tier in the, he's probably high on the guild PvP list, so let me find him real quick. He should be high up here. Unless he's been taking a break. No, he's high up there. Oh, he changed his team. This is actually a pretty nice team here. Okay, well, so I think I'm going to exclude Saite from this review. Oh no, actually I don't need to. I know what to do. I can check in the shards section. I just won't know what his stats are, but that's okay. Where are you? Okay, so he has a decent fortified ability. Increases attack by 10%, deals chaos. No one to this day knows what chaos does. Destroys one of the opponent's D10 dicers, so same ability as Sonya, but it's not that good of an ability if you're facing off against a real-life player. So I would probably put him in C tier. Since I don't ever notice anything happen with the Jack-in-the-Box ability, so I'm assuming it's not that good. Okay. Alright, so we're almost done here, guys. Kind of losing my voice here, so... Let's see, how long is this stream? Wow, I've been talking for almost 2.5 hours straight. Okay, but I do need to finish this though. Alright, so next we have Rowena. Now, I haven't acquired her. I don't know anyone who uses her. If I remember correctly, I don't think her abilities were that impressive to me when I first saw them. And unfortunately, I don't think Rowena is here. Yeah. Yeah, so guys, I don't think I can properly assess Rowena because I don't have her. But, maybe I have a screenshot of her somewhere. Let's see. No, not in there. Oh, okay, I guess I don't have her stats or anything, but I remember she wasn't that impressive. Alright, and then finally we of course have Requiem, who I think is pretty good. Let me find him in the shards section. Oops. One of my big incentives for creating this video is to figure out who is worth fortifying and who isn't, as well as figuring out where, like, who all the stacking dicers are in the natural fours. So I'm gonna kind of fly through that. Okay, so Requiem, first ability adds 15% damage, increases 15% whirlwind piercer damage, and full charge adds even more. So Requiem is one of the few natural 5s that I think has stacking potential. And then the dicer abilities is pretty much the same as what's his name? As Hyde's. Increase 2 of your D10 dice by 3. Fortify abilities, pretty decent. Yeah, so, and he is a D6 double sniper, so he kind of has the same stats as, whatchamacalls, as Yomna. So, I think because of his Lux Aeterna ability, that does bump him up maybe from B tier to A tier. What do you guys think? Because I currently have Yomna here. He was decent all around, we established. I think because Requiem has stacking potential, so he does go up to A tier. Because he can stack to increase your score if you plan on using, say, like Anna as your master skill user. But I think we established that Anna doesn't have a good fortify ability. Yeah, so... Ooh, maybe Requiem's B tier. What do you guys think? Yeah, I think I'll... B+. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, he should be in between, but I don't have an in-between tier. So I guess I'll put him here, but do keep in mind that he is very close to A tier. Okay, so Requiem, D6 dicer, stacking potential with Whirlwind and Piercer. And decent fortify. Okay. I would say that makes sense. Okay. I think that does it for the natural 5s, so let me just fly through the natural 4s. Now, the only reason why you would even use a natural 4 dicer is for stacking purposes. A lot of you watching this stream know exactly what I'm talking about, probably know even more about stacking than I do, but from my understanding, stacking is where, you know, in order to achieve a high score in the descent challenges for the fortify being and the 5-star shards, summon shards, or getting a high score in the 4th floor tower for, you know, extra, I don't even remember what the rewards are, but yeah, then what a lot of people do is that they use certain natural 4 dicers that have these enhanced dicer abilities that basically allow you to buff the dicer that you plan on using and master skilling with. And so that's important because I know Croesus has demonstrated numerous times on his videos how much higher of a score you achieve just by boosting your dicer by an extra 1k 2k damage. Yeah, I'm gonna fly through this. I don't know off of the top of my head who the enhanced dicers are, so I'm just gonna check real quick. Okay, so it's not her. Oops, what am I doing? I think Snow is one of them. Yeah, enhanced dicer. So I think I'll create a separate category. So I'll duplicate this slide. I'm gonna say 4-star enhancers. I think this table will serve you guys more. So instead of creating a tier list, I'm just gonna say enhancer, and then the class that it enhances. Class that it enhances. I think this will serve people a lot more. If you guys feel like there is a better format for this, just let me know. I'll change it. So Snow fortify or enhances snipers by 15%. Okay, let's keep going. And that's the only reason why you guys would use 4-star dicers, aside from, like Snitch, you said there being a couple good Nat 4 bombers. Hugh Madeline. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, Snitchu. So, Psych probably is not it. Nope. Okay, so I guess if you wanted to use melee, I think I may have skipped a dicer. Let's see. Oh no, I checked Psych already. Tau, let's see. Nope. Nope. Sorry guys, I guess this is one of those moments where I really should have researched beforehand. Oh, are you talking about... Which one were you talking about? Yeah, the amazing thing about this game is for the artwork, they don't hold back. Alright, this one? Oh my goodness, wow. Yeah, that is, it's too bad she's not, she would have, if she was a Nat 5, I think she would be S tier, obviously, no matter what. Alright, but anyways. Oh wow, there's a 4-star I don't have. Okay, I don't know what she does. Wow, there aren't that many enhancers. Oh, he was one of them, definitely. Yeah. Okay. So I'm taking the time to search through all of them so that you guys don't have to do the same. I'm trying to just get all the information in one slide so you guys can, you know, take a screenshot of it or something and keep it for your reference. And I'll double check the Nat 5s real quick as well to see which Nat 5 stack, because I think there's a couple of them. Yeah, there aren't that many. Oh, here we go. And I think that's what Snitchu was trying to say to me earlier. So yeah, I mean, snipers have so many good ones. Excuse me. Good enhanced dicers. Yeah, and Seimei is also an enhanced dicer. Okay, so Seimei Bomber, 15%. Purchase only. Okay, and I think what I'll do, because there are a couple natural 5 dicers that can also enhance. Okay, so just now I went through for you all every single natural 4 enhancer that I could find, and these are it right here. So for those of you guys, I mean, most of you guys know already what an enhancer does, but the basic idea is, you know, to achieve a high score in 4th floor raid or for descent challenges, one strategy a lot of people use is to cycle through their enhancer dicers like Snow, Twinkle, Hiwa, Madeline, Seimei to boost the attack of the dicer that they plan on using to deal high amounts of damage to the raid boss. And then after you do that, then when you master skill, the master skill attack is based off of the attack stat of the dicer that you just used. So what a lot of people do to achieve a high score is they'll, for instance, they'll use like a Nidhogg, or they'll buff a Nidhogg, so they'll play like Snow first turn, Hiwa second turn, Madeline third turn, and cycle between those. And then once you've, you know, buffed your sniper up to say like 6k, 8k attack, well, I don't know if that's even possible, but I do know, like if you watch Razor Gaming's videos, he does get his sniper pretty high up there in attack, and then he'll release a really powerful master skill that multiplies, you know, X number of times depending on how many master skill tiles they hit on the raid boss. So you end up overkilling the raid boss by a ton of damage, and the score of course increases a lot based on how much you overkill the raid boss by. So currently among the 4-star enhancers, there's only 5 that currently buff, that currently enhance. 3 of them for snipers, 1 of them for melee, and one of them for bomber. I think currently the strategy that people have been using for a long time has been Yeah, this right here. Let me highlight it for you guys. I don't know if you guys can see that. I should make it a different color. Okay. So these three right here, I do know some people who will use Hiwa and Madeline, or Madeline and Snow, or maybe all three. They'll be squishier, but then they kind of cycle through these until they get Nidhogg up and then Master Skill. But it's while it is possible to do for the 3rd floor, a lot of people now are getting their high scores from the 4th floor. And the 4th floor raid boss hits a lot harder, so being this squishy is a liability, which is where Seimei comes in. Seimei, you could purchase her from a package. You can get up to 4 of her. Currently, unfortunately, the only way to acquire her is by spending, real life money to acquire her. She works perfectly with Kitsune, because as you guys saw earlier in my stream, Kitsune has one of the best Master Skill abilities where it boosts your Master Skill attack by 50%. So what you would do is you would cycle Seimei a couple times on, say, Kitsune, and then you bomb her with Kitsune, and hopefully after you use Kitsune, then you're in position to Master Skill on the boss for tons of damage. Now, I don't know if it has been extensively tested yet, so I don't know for sure if perhaps this is a viable strategy, or if we still have to stick with the sniper strat. But let's see here. So I did mention Requiem has stacking potential with Whirlwind and Piercers. So you could technically do an enhanced strategy with Anna. However, the problem is Requiem is currently unobtainable. So that kind of puts a dent in that. Oh, Estelle enhances Piercer, right? I think so. Let me show you guys. Estelle. So I think there is currently 2 natural 5s that enhance dicers. Yeah, let me jot it down for your reference. So I have 4-star enhancer. Let me just create a second one. Just have it all in one slide so you can take a screenshot of this and just plan out your team accordingly. So there's 5-star enhancers. Oh, Belladonna? Oh, let me check. I must have skipped her. But here, let me just type this real quick. Okay, so there's Estelle. Enhances Piercers by 20% and can also do melee 20%. Oops. If full charge. Oh, Sarah, 10% melee? Okay, I'll take a look right now. And then who did I say? Requiem, right? Requiem. Where are you, Requiem? Okay. So, I got Whirlwind, Piercer, 15% plus whirlwind, piercer, 25% if full charge. Alright, this is getting a little clunky here, but pretty sure this is correct. Okay, so let me take a look at your contributions here. Sarah, 10%. Oh, you're talking about 3 stars, aren't you? Let me double check. Oh my goodness, there's so many 3 stars. Alright, let me see if Wiki can tell me which one's which. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So you guys said Sarah. This one. Melee 10%. Okay, so let me add that on. Wow, we have 3-star enhancers. I don't know if anyone would want to use it, but I guess for reference. 3-star enhancers. We got Sarah, melee 10%. And then Zara. Zara 10%. Oh man, but you're going to be so squishy though. Their HP contribution's probably negligible. Dang, how do you guys figure this out? That's incredible. Alright. So... and this is Piercer, right? No, Whirlwind. Vera... okay, Vera 10%. Sniper 10%. Alright, sorry guys I couldn't squish this all in one slide. Well, I could probably do that if I take out the picture. Let's do that for just ease of looking at this. Delete that. Okay, so I'll have the... let's see. I'll have this on the top. So this is 3-star enhancer. And then we got the 4-star enhancer. And then we have the 5-star enhancers. Guys, looking at this list, am I missing anyone? Carmen 10% bomber, okay. Carmen... bomber 10%. Okay. Running out of room. Alright, that was a lot more enhancers than I thought. Enhancer. Okay, yeah, that looks right. Olivia 10% magic. Wow. Nice. 10% magic. Very nice. Okay, this seems pretty comprehensive. Carmen. That's why you know. Okay. So, there you have it, guys. I mean, unless you're like going all in trying to min-max the damage output for the high scores, I'm not sure if you would use the 3-star enhancers here. That might make you a little too squishy, but is she? Oh my goodness. Good observation there. I think she might be. Wow, I actually didn't realize it. Yeah, I think you're right. Huh. Okay. Oh, there's one more? 3-star. Okay, let's look for him. This could take a while. It's the girl. Okay. With the backpack. Oh, okay. Where is she? With the backpack. Oh man, their art is so different. I think I'll look in... I think I know who you're talking about. Oh, the one looking at the map. Okay. Cannon. Is it Cannon? Oh no. Oh, I'm missing Cannon, huh? Running out of room here, guys. So Cannon... Melee 10%. Okay, the one on the map. Oh, okay, I know where to look. The one looking at the map, where are you? Oh, here. Oh, this one. Robe. Ah, there we go. So, Robe is the other Piercer booster. Okay. Let me see if I can minify this so I can have it all in one slide. I don't know if you guys can even read this. Okay, guys. I know it's kind of messy in here, but I have it all on one slide if you want to take a screenshot of this for your reference. Alright, I think that wraps it up. Yeah, Beiko, thank you so much for joining us, by the way. So I think this pretty much wraps things up. So I'm just going to do a quick recap before I end the stream here. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to contribute to the stream. You know, I think I had at least 5 or 6 of you give your 2 cents, and I think we even did a vote on some of these dicers regarding which one should be S tier, A tier, or B tier. Oh, TY... Oh. Okay, we're not done yet, guys. Oh yeah, I could have sworn I actually saw that earlier this morning. Okay, so that is Piercer. 10%, okay. Alright guys, I hope you guys can read this from your computer screen. Alright. So I guess as a recap here, let me just delete this slide. So for the S tier, we established that there were 4 that we felt were worthy of S tier. Loki, Kitsune, Verona, Malite. If we were to make an SS tier, Kitsune and Malite would bump up, but otherwise I think this seems pretty reasonable. Oh, really? Oh no, I had to scroll up. I thought I had everyone. Robe, I got Robe. Cannon, I just got Cannon. Oh, Cannon Sniper though. Sniper, Aurora, 10% Piercer. Oh, I miss Aurora, huh? Okay. Aurora, Piercer, 10%. Olivia, 10% Magic, we got that. Carmen, 10% Bomber, got that. Vera, 10%. Got that. Wow, I'm amazed you guys found all this. Zara, 10% Whirlwind, got that. Sarah, yeah, Sarah, I got Sarah. 10% melee. Belladonna is another one. Belladonna, there's a lot. Belladonna. Ooh, I think at this point I really need to move it to the other PowerPoint. Sniper, 10%. Okay, I'm just making sure. Oh, Dayla Enhance? Oh, okay. Which one of you had Dayla again? Oh, actually I have Dayla, I can figure it out. Or Daylo? Daylo. Where is Daylo? Oh, here. Oops, what am I doing? Where is he? My brain just shut down. Okay. Skill info. No, I don't think Daylo enhances. Oh, are you talking about Dana? Dana. Oh, Dana! Yeah, I definitely need another PowerPoint slide. I'll fix that. So, melee 15%, and then plus another 15% if full charge. Okay, so I'm going to move and create another slide. Let's duplicate. So I think I'll just delete this one here. Move this up and this up. Alright, and then I'll just delete this. Okay, I think, did I get everyone, guys? And it's Carmen with a K. Okay, so we got Sarah, Zara, Vera, Carmen, Olivia, Cannon, Robe, TYL, Aurora, and Belladonna for 3-star enhancers. 4-star enhancers, we have Snow, Twinkle, Hiwa, Madeline, Seimei. I think the ones that people know more about are Snow, Hiwa, and Madeline. Big Ho, which dicer does 10% melee, aka? There's... Wait, really? AKA... What does AKA look... Wait, is that really the name? Have I ever seen him before? What does AKA look like? I had no idea that dicer existed. Index. Yeah, which one of these guys is AKA? That's nuts. Oh, Alron. Oh, did I? Oh, Sushi. Really? Whoa, AKA. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about a different AKA. Oh, okay, so interesting. Melee 10%. Okay, and then Alron, we forgot about him. Let's see. I think Alron, though, he buffs himself, not necessarily enhances. Yeah, he has chain attack, but I don't think he enhances, though. I mean, he himself can buff, but I think we're talking about enhancing here. He buffs the melee. Increased when using me. Okay. Are we including chain attacks in this list, or should we keep it separate? Okay. I think for the purposes of this video, I think we'll stick with enhancing for the walling strat. Okay, okay. Yeah. So I'm just compiling this purely for enhancers. Just basically not too situational, just, you know, straight up buffs the stat that we want. Yeah, we're just enhancing. We're going to keep it separate because I think that'll be more useful for people. So here, I'm going to pause on the 3-star for now. If you guys want to take a screenshot of it for your reference later, or, I mean, this video is going to be up soon, so you can probably refer to this. Alright, and now I'm going to move on to the 4-star and 5 stars, so this is what we've compiled here, if you want to screenshot that. Alright, and just real quick before I go, just reviewing the tier list we've established. So for the S tier, we have Loki, Kitsune, Verona, and Melite. Not necessarily in this order, but we do feel... I think the general consensus is these are all the S tiers. And then when we look at the A tiers, this was a little harder to compile. We got Thornet, Nidhogg, Diana, Ophelia, Fenrir, Beholder, Elam, Kangim, and Anna. Now some of these I think we were kind of debating whether to bump them down to B tier or not, but we figured they were good enough to be like an A- tier or something. Alright. And then finally we have B tier. We got Ordina, Estelle, Sickle, Rumi and Grafe, Liddy, Sonia, Hyde, Yomna, Dana, Dalo, Requiem. Once again, guys, some of these B tiers we came very close to making them A tier. We put it to a vote and decided it was B tier for these. Some of these we were also debating whether to have them off the list because they were kind of like not that impressive compared to other B tiers, but I think this was the general consensus we agreed upon. So yeah, that's it, guys. So we figured out who the best natural 5s were. We figured out which natural 4s and natural 3s were useful for enhancing. I would say this was a pretty successful session here. Yeah, and I think that wraps it up. So guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to follow my stream. Right now we have 8 people watching, but I think at one point we had 12 people watching. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch and contribute to this channel. If you guys haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. I know that I've been doing a lot of live streaming lately, so maybe not as much video content, but I will do my best to upload useful videos for you guys. If not every day, then every other day or as often as I can. Guys, take care, and until next time, bye bye.